All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Rock Solid News. And we got a great one for you this evening. It is Thursday, it's August 31st, and we're going to be talking liberal nepotism. It's in the courts, it's in Parliament, it's in the PMO, it's in the Ethics Commission's office. Justin just can't help himself. Come back in about a minute and a half. We'll be back live.
So, the high school drama teacher over here accuses others of liking the sounds of their own voices.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I was a high school teacher before getting into politics, and I'm having a little trouble remembering what exactly the job that the Leader of the Opposition had before getting into politics.
Yes, and he left right in the middle of the semester, and I'm having trouble remembering why.
The small fringe minority who are holding unacceptable views do not represent the views of Canadians whose heads are filled with people who chose not to get vaccinated. The risk posed to all of us by unvaccinated people. It's never too late to do the right thing. We'll be immensely pleased to be able to give you that first dose of vaccine.
I'd like to welcome the fake news media,
and the ideology in order to push particular agendas, and I think some of those agendas, unfortunately, pretty hardcore, pretty extreme. The power of misinformation, because so much, of what we hear coming from these protesters, from a scientific perspective, just isn't true. And
can you state categorically? You are fake news,
Sir.
All right, there you have it. You are fake news. And if you're in Canada and you're on Facebook, you don't have to worry about fake news anymore because you're not allowed to share it or post it. Good news is you're still allowed to post independent We the People, by the People media, which is what this looks like here. That's what we're doing at Rock Solid News. So as I stated earlier, Thursday, August 31st, we got a good one for you. We're talking liberal nepotism in the courts. We're talking liberal nepotism in the Ethics Commission's office. We got a whole... Oh, and a bonus. Justin Trudeau has a plan for convoyers. Just a little teaser for the end of the episode. So the first thing we're talking is the liberal nepotism in the courts. That's the first topic in the title. So let's have at her. Judges may have paid, high-level judges may have paid to meet Trudeau before their appointments. Liberal cash for access events may have allowed prospective Superior Court applicants to meet with top cabinet ministers. Now, again, we are talking about Canada. I know some people might think we're talking about, a banana republic or Russia or whatever, one of those corrupt nations. Unfortunately, no, we are talking about the beautiful democracy of Canada, LOL. So, and this just gets worse. The more you scroll, the more this story gets worse. So there's our chief and, Anyways, Donating Judges is a series of articles examining the politicization of federal appointments to Canada's courts and tribunals. It is the result of an 8-month data analysis investigation. At least 6 Superior Court justices may have paid to meet with the Prime Minister or the Deputy Prime Minister at Liberal Party fundraisers shortly before being appointed. Now, this is the part you have to keep in mind and pay attention. This is what, pay for play or cash for access means. The very first thing we're talking about is at least 6 current Superior Court judges paid to meet the Prime Minister or Her Majesty, the Deputy Prime Minister, at Liberal Party fundraisers before they were appointed, meaning they paid, they got their access, and then they were given their role. The story continues below. And there was an earlier analysis done by the National Post and the Investigative Journalism Foundation. My goodness. And they found that over 3 times, listen to this statistic, over 3 times as many Liberal Party donors have been appointed to judicial office than Conservative donors since 2016. Now I'm not here letting the Conservatives off the hook. You'll never hear me do that. If you do, please give me a reality check. That's not what I'm doing here. But just consider that. However much the Conservatives partook in pay-for-play access, over 3 times as many Liberal Party donors have been appointed to judicial office since 2016 over a Conservative. So they managed to match a publicly available database against fundraisers' attendance lists, which again is publicly available knowledge, and historical event records, which means that the Liberals posted stuff. And that's not just their website, it's actually their social media platform. All federal fundraisers are tickets over $200, featuring the party leader, a cabinet minister, or a leadership contestant. And that has to be reported to Elections Canada. Now we're moving to Alberta. Persons with similar names of 3 federally appointed judges to Alberta's Superior Trial Court appear on the fundraising registry. They name Robert Armstrong, Michelle Bourque, which are both of Calgary, who attended several fundraisers with high-level cabinet ministers. Sometimes they were together, with their last attendance at events just a couple of months before judges with similar names were appointed to Alberta's Court of King's Bench. Robert W. Armstrong of Calgary was appointed to the bench in February 2021, timeline, and Michelle H. Bourque, also of Calgary, was appointed in December of 2021. Actual pay-for-play access being openly discussed by the cathedral media. And all we're going to do is kind of bitch and moan about it, right? No one's ever going to take any accountability. No actions will ever get taken. But here we go. Let's keep going because the story continues below. Michelle Bourque, one of the guys we just talked about up there, attended 5 Liberal Party fundraisers, 1 with the Prime Minister and 2 with Deputy Prime Minister. Robert Armstrong of Calgary attended 3 fundraisers, and 2 of them had Trudeau in attendance, 1 with Freeland. And both Armstrong and Bourque, as well as another, the third, Kevin Feth, a similar name to another Alberta judge, appear to have been Laurier Club members. Get ready for this beauty. The Laurier Club is an exclusive club run by the Liberal Party for its top donors. Supporters can join the Laurier Club by donating $1,700 per year, the maximum legal limit for contributions to a national party. So that's their top dog elite club. That's if you pay $1,700 a year, you get premium access to the Liberal Party and its top dogs. And of course, none of the 3 Alberta judges responded to multiple attempts from either National Post or the IJF to reach or confirm that they were the attendees in question. And they actually also contacted them via the court itself. And a spokesperson for the court confirmed the questions were forwarded to the judges, giving them opportunity to respond if desired. So keep that in mind. Judges have been openly found to have been paying for access to the Liberal Party. And when confronted about it, even through the courts will admit that yes, the judges have received your questions. And if they so choose, they will respond, and they have not. Janice Steele of Toronto was appointed to the Superior Court of Justice of Ontario in May of 2020. Janice Steele from the Toronto area attended 2 Liberal fundraisers in 2018, and 2019. And then May 2020, Superior Court. The first was a Laurier Club event. The Laurier Club, remember, that's $1,700 per year, and you get top access to the top dogs of the Liberal Party. This was a Laurier Club event headlined by Trudeau. The 2019 event was $1,625 per ticket. It was a breakfast reception. That is the most expensive breakfast I've ever heard of. And it was also hosted by the Prime Minister and held at the Fairmont Royal Hotel in York. And again, the Post and the IJF have reached out to those people, and a spokesperson for the court confirmed the emailed questions were forwarded to Steele. Steele did not respond to this message or multiple requests for comment to her personal email. Again, there is utterly no liability whatsoever for any of these people. Just consider that fact. Judges can pay and bribe their way onto the bench, be caught, be told in public, here's what we know you're doing, and they get to just say no comment. When asked in July why Liberal donors are more likely to be appointed to judicial positions than Conservative, other than the opposition party donors, a spokesperson for the Prime Minister's office. Now, hold on. We're going to have to stop here. If you're listening right now and you're not sitting down, I would advise. I don't have liability insurance. We don't have that at Rock Solid News. So please sit down before I read the next part. A spokesperson for the Prime Minister's office, Mohammed Hussein, responded, "The process is always based on merit. We do not use political party databases." I'm assuming that was said with a straight face. Nikki's lying down. Thank you. 12 feet of snow. Well, Lindsay, you can sit in the snow. Always based on merit. We do not use political party databases. Keep that in mind, please. Story continues below. And they asked, the IJF and the Post asked directly in a follow-up message if other methods of determining applicants' political leanings are used besides political databases. And in response, another spokesperson, this time Alison Murphy, said, "Our government has been committed to an open and transparent merit-based appointments process to encourage continued trust in Canada's democracy and ensure the integrity of its public institutions." That sounds like the Biden, that word salad. The federal judicial appointment process starts with recommendations from yada, yada. See, again, all this political jargon to tell you I'm giving you a middle finger and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. The story continues below, and believe me, it gets much worse, and we'll post the link as we're able to, and we've already posted it on our site, but we do on 2 other topics. So our next one is, there's more nepotism going on, but this time, where is it happening? This time it's happening in the ethics office. So if you've paid attention to Canadian politics whatsoever since Justin Trudeau took office, you'll know that he's been found to have violated the ethics office multiple times, more so than any other prime minister, I do believe. So without any irony at all, the last time there was a ethics office commissioner who stepped down, the role was not filled. And I'm sure you can fill in the blanks, Nikki and Peter specifically, as to why that would happen. Why would the ethics office commission or ethics commissions officer role not be filled? There's a slight twist. He tried to fill it with a sister-in-law of his family. And within a couple of weeks, she had to step down because she was being called out for being literal family. And I'm sure you guys are shocked that such a thing would occur, obviously. Here we go. CTV News. Today's topic: conflict of interest and ethics commissioner has been named, filling a role that's been largely vacant for months. Certainly, absolutely nobody is shocked by this. And here is the new Edward. I'm glad you're here for this. We have a new ethics commissioner, and look at this name: Conrad Winrich von Finkenstein has been appointed to a 6-month term as the conflict of interest and ethics commissioner for Canada. Again, this role has been largely vacant for months. The former conflict of interest ethics dog, Mario Dion, retired in February, and then Martine Richard took the role, but stepped down just weeks later following criticism because she's the sister-in-law of Dominique LeBlanc. A Liberal cabinet minister put his sister-in-law in charge of the ethics commissioner. And obviously, once she was called out, she stepped down. And obviously, Trudeau defended her appointment, yada, yada, yada. Dion, yada, yada, yada. This is the point here. We have a prime minister who has made multiple ethics violations through this office, more than any other prime minister. Once the last one stepped down, he decided, screw that. I'm just going to not fill the role because why? I don't need to. Who's going to make me? And then who is? Do we have an opposition party who's going to make them? No, because the opposition party doesn't care about you either. The opposition party cares about getting into power, and that's it. So there you go. Finally has been filled, and Edward, yeah, exactly. So Canada's new ethics, conflict of interest and ethics commissioner is Conrad Winrich von Finkenstein. And we're just going to leave it at that. Now, I did say that we do have a quick little funny bit at the end of this. Not funny, I guess, but I teased you that Justin Trudeau has plans for the convoyers. If you'll recall, with I'm sure a certain long memory, I'm pretty sure, Peter, they are brothers. Yes, I'm pretty sure. I know you can't make this stuff up. The jokes write themselves. So if you can recall with your extremely long-term memories, there was a convoy recently in Canada where people went to Ottawa and occupied the city and tried to overthrow the government, and therefore the government enacted the Emergencies Act. Now, Justin Trudeau has plans for the Emergency Act because it wasn't quite as successful as he had hoped it was going to be. However, it can be successful if you just change it up a bit. TV news, and keep in mind, guys, you can't share this media, right? You can't go on Facebook and share CTV News and CBC News. That's a blessing. That's an utter blessing that they're removing the propaganda from our news feeds. Take it as a blessing from whatever creator you do or don't believe in, and share independent media. And I'm not just saying share my stuff. Obviously, I'd be happy if you do. But there's plenty of people doing independent journalism and media across Canada. When you see them doing their stuff, if you enjoy what they're doing, share it and just promote it. You don't have to donate. Nobody's being a shill here. Nobody's asking for money. I got no PayPal, no Venmo codes, no promo codes. Just doing this for the good of it, so Canadians can get some truth. So it's about a big, yeah. I'll leave that in the Rumble comments. So 6 months after the Emergency Act inquiry's final report made dozens of recommendations for federal change, the government has presented a 6-month progress report on steps taken so far. So that's a full year in that one sentence. Vowing a more comprehensive response will come in time for the 1-year anniversary, almost as if they're anticipating action of some similar nature for the 1-year anniversary. So in a letter Justin Trudeau made public on Thursday, Dominique LeBlanc, who was the character involved in getting his sister-in-law made the ethics commissioner, just so we're clear, he's the Minister of Public Safety and Democratic Institutions and Intergovernmental Affairs. So let's really let that one sink in. The Minister of Democratic Institutions got his sister-in-law appointed as the ethics commissioner for his government. He's claiming work is underway, but he'll need 6 more months to fulsomely address Public Order Emergency Commissioner Paul Rouleau's call for change. So they're considering these recommendations very carefully, absolutely very carefully, of course, as they always would. And they're looking to improve collaboration between jurisdictions, support community safety, help strengthen, yada, yada, yada. Notice they're not looking to reinforce the freedom of the individual. That's not on their list at all. All right, so here are some of the recommendations. So far, the government says it has made progress on identifying and protecting critical trade and transportation corridors. Remember, there was a convoy of transportation vehicles. Now they're going to identify and protect critical trade transportation corridors. Improving the security of the financial sector around the use of crypto assets, money laundering, and terrorist financing. Remember, all citizens' money already the first time around. Now they want to improve the security of the financial sector to do that better. Considering policing reforms, including the RCMP reworking its information sharing capabilities, meaning they get to share your information more easily across law enforcement. Because there are laws pertaining to how the RCMP, if it has your information for whatever reason, can share that with other police enforcement agencies. But they want to consider police reforms to include reworking how they get to share that information to make that more easy. And then, of course, 4 or 5 way down the line, they say our priority remains to keep Canadians safe and protect our democracy and yada, yada, yada. And he's going to continue to work closely with yada, yada, yada. The commission, so we don't need to look at this any further. The commission met for 6 full months and came up with suggestions at best. That's all they are. Not even recommendations. They're suggestions. And now the guy who got his sister-in-law made the ethics commissioner is telling you that his government is going to work hard to make sure he follows these suggestions. And of the ones that were made, the Liberal Party finds it incumbent to make sure the RCMP can share your information easier, to make sure they can steal your money easier, and to make sure they protect vital transportation corridors in the future. All 3 of those things are things they wish they could have done more successfully the first time around. They're quite literally bolstering. They're using the Emergency Act suggestions to bolster rather than remove their authority. So as a closing final statement here before we wrap up for the evening, because we've got our 3 topics covered. We've got liberal nepotism in the courts. We covered that just before Edward showed up. And we have nepotism in the Ethics Commission's office, obviously. And then, of course, we have the pay-for-play access. So if there is still people that think that we are living in a democratic institution, because a lot of people seem to think that because they get to walk into a booth and cast a ballot, that means that we live in a democracy. And I think it's incumbent upon you, if you're an adult, to know better. That's not simply the case. Simply because you get to cast a ballot. For instance, the Russian people cast ballots. Do you believe the Russian people live in a quote-unquote democracy? Many nations have forms of voting that exist where there's no quote-unquote democracy involved. And Canada is absolutely one of those nations. Canada is a nation where the government gets to rule. Absolutely. And I don't want democracy. Democracy is a dirty word. If you know what democracy is, it's mob rule. It's 51% rule to 49%. I don't want democracy. The plutocrats and the autocrats of the old world knew democracy wasn't good. But many people in current modern day Western society seem to yearn for democracy. So I would plead with you to take a very deep introspective look at the nation we're in. The government is allowed to act at will. The media can literally report on it as it's occurring, and it gets to just happen. And as a good example here in Newfoundland, during the last provincial election, as the ballots were being counted and before any results were announced, the Elections Commission's officer admitted on live radio to have committed election fraud multiple times in that election, not in previous elections. He openly admitted that he committed actual, literal election fraud on multiple ballots in the current election that he was live on radio discussing, and got a tisk tisk from the host. And then the election just occurred, and the ballots were counted, and the Liberal guy got in. And you ask yourself, how is that something that's allowed to happen? If we lived in a society that had what you think when you say democracy, then none of that should ever happen. There should be safeguards in effect. And when the person committing it is the person overseeing it, there's a government who can step in, separate of the Elections Commission's officer. They operate at arm's length of the government. So the government could have stopped that. The government could have stopped that election and said, first, you're being investigated. Secondly, we need a new commission's officer, and we need to have a new election. We can't possibly count the ballots and take the results of an Elections Commission's officer who's openly admitting to actively committing elections fraud. But that's not what happened. The ballots were counted, the Liberals won, and Andrew Furey is the Prime Minister of Premier of Newfoundland. So there you have it. That wraps up our show for tonight, guys. You got Liberal nepotism in the courts, and you got Ethics Commission's office nepotism at its finest. And you got Justin Trudeau has a special plan for convoyers. So think twice about heading to Ottawa in the near future. Thank you for listening, guys. It's been fantastic. The comment section here in Facebook land was great. Over in Rumble that you guys can't see, I appreciate you viewers. And there's been a beautiful discussion going on over there. I would suggest checking out Rumble if you can. Thank you, guys. It's Thursday, August 31st. You people, you stay sovereign, okay?